Okay, so macros does actually the thing to automate the things, like if you are doing the things same repeat again, like if I ask you to create some data sets 20 times, then you cannot go ahead and literally type the data step for the 20 times. You have to do your automation of your code that keep on running for the 20 times and have your output result as per your expectations. Okay, so I have write this a arithmetic equation over here. Maybe you guys, I hope you guys are able to this arithmetic equation, right? Am I audible to all of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys actually sudden stop responding, so I have to check all the times, so to ensure that my connection is working or not. Okay, so if you can see this equation over here, I put this value is equal to 50, and if I go ahead and ask you like what is the value of this equation, this is a general arithmetic algebra, so you can calculate. So what is the value of this? Come on, guys, it's just a standard 8th class question. What is the value of this final equation?
Arun, you don't have mentioned B1 in the second equation.
Oh, okay. So sorry about that. Okay. Now tell me.
I guess 150.
Okay. So how did you actually calculate this 150?
So you have used that first equation twice in a second equation. That is twice first equation plus first equation. So first equation value is 50.
Mm-hmm.
So twice 50 is 100 plus 50 is 150.
Okay. So what you actually did is you impute this value as like this, right? Right, and this comes out to be 150, right?
But
Yes.
B1 is missing. But B1 is missing in the bracket part.
Oh,
I think.
oh, just now it's fine.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. So what we actually did is we imputed this value to these equations. Okay. For mathematical purpose, this equations holds also true, and this equation also hold true. But the ultimately point of this was that like if I have to use this multiple equation many times, then why don't I go ahead and put this value equal to 50, right? Instead of using these two equation two times actually, then what we did is we imputed this algebraic equation to the 50 value. Okay, this is also same thing that we do in our SAS. Okay, when we have the repeated task that we need to do, we actually convert that thing that we want to achieve into a particular variable or value, and then we reference that value into a loop or into macros, so that ultimately we will have a very small code and very efficient in use, very easy to debug, and you know to achieve the things very faster and in very less piece of code. Okay, so I hope you guys get the overview of like what actually macro do is, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I hope you guys can see my PPT screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so before literally start with the SAS macros, I have already shown you that how SAS macros actually works. So like just an overview, like we imputed a particular value to someone, and we can go ahead and repeat this task according to that values. Okay, so overall purpose of the SAS macro, what we actually do is we substitute the text substituting and the processing that facility to automate and customize our code. Okay, what we actually did is we substituted this value to this equation, and finally we get the same output as we have from this equation. Okay. Okay, so it helps to reduce the amount of the SAS code to obtain the same results. Okay, I will show you each and every code for the same points. Okay, so as you can see over here, from this uh, algebraic equation we get 150, and also we get the same value from this highlighted equation 150. So as you can see, this the overall code has been reduced from this equation to this equation. Okay. Okay, and if you can if you save this result as 50, and whenever if you're working into the production support department, then where the requirements exactly needs to be served as soon as possible. Okay, to stop any miscommunication between the teams and the productions department that actually runs on the real-time basis, and where no lacking is to be happen to supposed to happen. Okay. So if you save this equation equal to 50, and you can reference it to many equation, then you don't need to remember this equation actually. Okay. Let's see the sample program for the same, and we will be done after that the introduction part, and we will see further. Suppose say I'm writing a code. As of now, don't get confused with this code. I will explain to after that. Okay. Okay. So actually, in my work library, I have created two data sets, A and B. Okay, like this. Okay, and if I ask you to print these data sets in the output, what you exactly need to do is like you go ahead and type proc print data equals p and run something stuff like that. Or even you can omit this if you are not intended to for a particular data set. If only the recent one if you want to print, you go ahead and substitute proc print run. Okay, if you print this one, the data set B get printed out. Okay, okay, let's achieve the same thing through macros. Okay, let me create another data so that you will better understand it. Okay, and if I want you to print this data set, say instead of using proc print, I can go ahead and simply substitute this value like this, and if I execute it, your same result gonna be printed out with 17 observations. Okay, as you can see over here, this whole proc print code that I did mention over here has now been transformed to this just two three characters, percentage e semicolon. This whole part has now become percentage a. Okay, and even if I go ahead and delete all of these, see, I just simultaneously created a data set A, and simultaneously I print this data as well, just by two lines of code, and it is very short code, percentage b and percentage a, and that are both followed by semicolon. Can you see the power of macros? Just a very small amount of code that can achieve the same thing that you usually do that with your hard coding. Okay, if I go ahead and type you the exact code that exactly was being transferred. Okay, so this is your exact code that is saved into these both characters, these two statements. Actually, this whole lot of code is get saved into this one, and they start get executed and achieve the same result as that of this code. Okay, so now I hope you get these points of the PPT. It's a text substituting. It helps to reduce the amount of SAS code to obtain the same results. And if you really works in the production support department, then where the results that has to be delivered as soon as possible without any delay, then there you don't need to type this whole bulky code to get the same result. We have the uh, save code in some variables, and we after call that, and we substitute this value and deliver it to the particular team as soon as possible. Okay, so this is the same stuff as like this. We want to achieve something, we have some value. Okay, and we want to achieve something, we inputted this value and we get the same result. Okay, just for your overview, I hope it is clear to you like what exactly SAS macro is do.
Yes.
Is it clear to all of you, or is it the Prinka who get only cleared with these topics? Okay. If there is anyone who has any kind of doubt till now, just ask me. Otherwise, it will going to be a little difficult for you to understand. Don't get messed up with this code that I have right over here. I will go ahead and clear this one for you. So, shall I move ahead?
Yes, Arun.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about macros, and we will start after that. Okay, so I hope you guys do remember when we actually run a proc format procedure, then there is a catalog that actually built into the work library that actually holds the value of the formats that you are going to save into your system. Okay, and when we actually apply that format into our values, then what SAS actually do is SAS searches that values into that pro catalog, and it grasp that values and go ahead and particular format that values and deliver to you, right? That actually Sashi did cover to you, and you can also view the contents of that catalog, proc format catalog. I hope you guys remember. Okay, so Apurva is the only one who remember, or not all of you?
Actually, I'm just taking these classes.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay, so that was actually a basis kind of syllabus. I hope
But I
you.
know.
Okay, so just having a fair knowledge. So what exactly happen is whenever you run a proc format, there is a folder or in the systems. If I say a particular catalog is being made, and it stores the format values, and whenever you call that particular format name, then SAS actually go to this catalog and fetch out the information related to that format and apply that format to your values, and it prints the values. Okay, same it happens in this way. Okay, whenever you have to build your macros, then you have to start with a particular keyword, percentage macro. Okay, as like you start with a data step, then you have to mention data. If you are going to enter into proxyql, then you have to use a proxyql. Same like if you are going to enter into your macro environment, then you have to start with percentage macro. Okay, after that you need to specify the macro name. Okay, you can assign a valid SAS name to the macros. Okay, if I specify Arun over here. Okay, okay, and in this between. Okay, and after that the proc print, what we exactly do is we quit our step by using quit statement in the into the proc, or we use run into the data step. Okay, similarly we do use percentage m end. Okay, m as in macro, abbreviated as macro, and this is end. Okay, to end the macros. and to end which macros, then that what you actually define. Okay, the same name that you actually define for the macros. In between whatever that you write, the stuff like if I go ahead and write like this. Okay, this is called your macro body. This is called as macro body, the highlighted code beginning from data to the run. This is called as macro body. Okay, when you actually run it, let me delete this folder for you. This is it. It's not deleting code. Okay, okay, when I exactly run this one, nothing is happen. Okay, because SAS MACR is a catalog that is already present. If I restart my session, then and if I run the same code, then the same catalog will appear over here after running this. Okay, but nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. Okay, this is the information that actually is stored into this catalog. Okay, we will see different methods to see this information, that what exactly is presented into this catalog. Okay, by default SAS does not let you to show its contents of the macros, that is SAS MACR, until you specify a particular keyword to store this particular macros. Okay, or description. Okay, we will see this in upcoming classes. Till now you can only suppose this thing, that this is the information that is getting stored into this catalog. Okay, this is your stored compiled macro just for the work library. Okay, it is compiled macro that is stored into SAS MACR, but it does not get executed. To execute this, we need to call this macro. To call macro, we have to use percentage sign and then the name of the macro and by a semicolon. If I go ahead and substitute only this value and run this value, okay, then we get the same result. Okay, as you can see over here in the log, that there were the 19 observation that has been read from SAS app.class, and a particular dataset A has been created. Okay, we actually save this code into this MACR catalog, and whenever we have the requirements to create a sample data of SAS app.class, we simply write this equation statement percentage Arun semicolon. This statement is also called as calling of macro. Okay, is there anyone who has any doubt till now?
No.
Okay, so these are the temporary stored macros, like these contents are into the work library. If I go ahead and store these macros into a particular library that we have into different libraries, then whenever we invoke ourselves, then we have the availability of that catalog, and we go ahead and substitute these values to obtain the same results. Okay, so this is for our macro. uh, okay, 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 let's talk about macro variables. As you guys have the variables into your bases to define or store something value into it, SAS macros has their own macro variables. There are two types of macro variables that SAS has. There's one is user defined, and other than this, SAS has automatic variables. Okay, whenever you invoke SAS actually create multiple automatic variables within its environment to be used. This is actually total depends upon your requirement. Okay, so SAS macro variable, what is exactly do is it holds the value. If you can see this example over here, whenever I need to substitute this value equals to 50, then I have to define this as a variable. Okay, and even I can define this value as an a. Okay, I know this is a, this whole equation is a, and this whole equation is equal to 50. Okay, so it means to say that my a is equal to 50 as well. Okay, if I come to this equation, this is also right? So this is actually a variable which hold this value. Okay, let's talk about some values that SAS already has within itself. Okay, first of all, let's see like how to create a macro variables, and how to call these macro variables, and how to see the values of these macro variables, and then after that you get having a fair idea like what is actually happens in the macros. To define your particular macro variable, then you have to start with percentage. Percentage is actually used for the macro facility. Okay, then you have to begin with percentage let, then your macro variable name. Suppose say I am going to define Shashi, and its value is equal to 50. Okay, if I go ahead and substitute this one, and if I need to see the value uh, of Shashi, it is over here. Can you see this highlighted code into my log window? This is 50 over here. Can you see guys, because it is onto the
Yes,
very left
we
side.
can see.
Okay,
Yes.
to exactly see like what is the value, you can substitute star over here. This is the value. Okay, okay, so we created a macro variable named Shashi, and it has the value of 50. To see the value of 50, oh sorry, Shashi, then you have to call a macro variable. Okay, or you can say this is an ampersand sign. Okay, ampersand sign actually tells us to resolve this macro variable to its value. Whatever after that ampersand, your macro variable name, uh, suppose say Arun or ampersand Shashi. If I define Arun, then it check for the macro variables. If it is founded, then it go ahead and print into the print window. If I mention this percentage put. Okay, this is the same put that we define into our base as. The only difference is that whenever we are dealing with a particular macro facility, then we have to start preceding it with a percentage sign. Okay, I hope there is no doubt till now. To define your macro variable, you have to start with a percentage let keyword, then after that your macro variable name, and then its value. Okay, whenever you need to substitute value of Shashi equal to 50, then you can reference this macro variable like this. It is just the same cases like this. We store this whole lot of equation, a variable a. Whenever we need this equation, we simply call a. Okay, and this value get be substituted. Okay. Okay. So SAS is not only bounded that you have to define your values as numericals, you can also substitute its value as into character as well, like okay, if I run it, okay, this whole lot of equation get substituted to this. My name is Shashi. Okay, I change this value, then SAS replace the value of previously defined Shashi macro variable, and then after that, if I print this out, then this actually happen. It transform this macro variable value to my name is Shashi. Okay. Okay, so let me ask one question to you guys. Even if I know, whenever we have to deal with the till now, what we have seen is whenever we have to define characters or the strings, then we have to use the double quoted sign, right? But over here I did not define any quoted sign. Why is it so? Is there anyone who has any doubt? Who's there any can anyone can guess?
Because macro variable stores a string always.
Okay. Anyone else regarding the prayer? Okay, so that's right. Your name is I think Priyanka. Okay. Always remember this thumb rule that macro variable always get stored as text, or you can say string. Okay. Now maybe you do have your question in your mind, like in previous you defined Shashi equal to 50, and after calling this one, the value get resolved to 50. Okay, and over here I'm saying that only getting stored as an text. Okay, so this 50 is actually stored as a character, or you can say the series of text. Okay, this 50 is not numerical over here. After getting stored to this macro variable particular Shashi, this 50 has been transformed to particular text 50. Okay, if I substitute this value by putting inverted commas like this, and if I call Shashi, Okay, if you guys can see, after the star there is a inverted commas to begin, and at the end there is also a inverted commas. Okay, so the inverted commas also begin, also being a part of this macro variable value. Okay, if you increase the spaces like trailing blanks and the leading blanks, that also becomes the values of this macro variable. Okay, this also becomes the macro variable, leading and trailing blanks. Whatever you mention in this your macro variable value, that being transformed to the text. If it is already a text, then it's no problem. If it is a numerical, then it get transformed to the as in string. Okay, if you increase the space size over here, okay, and if you call again the Shashi, in case of particular numericals, then this leading blanks and trailing blanks get removed in case of numericals. Mohit, you were actually asking something. Repeat question, please. I did not see your comment actually. So, what exactly the question that you want me to repeat? Is there anyone who has any doubt till now? Okay. The previous question that I was asked during the class is like I mentioned this, that every that macro variable that we define always store the values as in text or string. Okay, and if I define these values as a numerical, okay, so it also get stored as string. Okay, so that was the actually question. Okay, okay guys, let's move further. Okay, so yes, these are the system defined automatic variables. Okay, these are the list. Even this list is bigger. I just pick up only a few automatic macro variables that SAS has, uh, that we need to have. Okay, let's call percentage put ampersand sysday. Let's see what is its value. Okay, its value is Wednesday. Because I have changed my SAS date to the license date, so that's why it is showing Wednesday. Otherwise it will show today. Whatever the day today is, it will show that day. Okay, so according to SAS, it is Wednesday. SYS is abbreviated as system and day as in day. Okay, you can call even if sysdate to see this value. According to the SAS, its date is 12 February 14. Okay, if you want this date to be in a particular format that exactly stored as a macro variable, then you can specify like this. Okay, so this whole date get transformed to the date 9 format. Okay, 12 February 2014. So if you guys notice that these macro variables that has not been even defined by me, whenever the SAS invokes these macro variable automatically get created into the memory, and it is available till the session exists. Okay, so even you can fetch your system time, system environment. If you are reporting to your seniors, and to let them know that on which environment you are working, then you simply call ampersand sys env. Okay, this is also a version, sys ver, ver as abbreviated as version, like which SAS version you are actually working. And this is your sys job id. Okay, sys job id is very helpful to identify like what who exactly was the user for that particular problem. Whenever you are working into the server side, and something get happen that affects the production department, they get track down this ampersand sys job id, and they get to know like this was the system that was actually working. Due to this, that whole lot of problem get created. Okay, so this is the macro variable that actually this technical support person actually identify. Okay, let's take a look what SAS version I am currently running. So this is sysver. So I am running 9.4 version. This is the latest version of SAS. Okay. Okay, so is there anyone who has any doubt till now?
No, Arun.
Okay. Okay, so one way to define, yes, please.
Can they use arithmetic operators in macro variables?
Yes, we can do. I have actually coming to that topic. Okay, okay, guys. So let me define a particular macro variable a, and its value like this. Who is going to be answer this question?
I guess it will show 3 plus 4 as it is considering as a text.
Okay, so you only ask because you don't know, or you just want me to just mention this one?
Please mention.
Okay. Okay, guys. So other than Sangeeta and Mohita already responded me that this is okay. So as I already mentioned over in previously, that everything is into the macro variable, the value gets stored as in text. So this 3 plus 4 is not exactly the value. This is a text. Whenever I call this one, the value get printed. Okay, 3 plus 4, it does not get resolved. Okay, okay, to resolve this one, we do have another function. This is percentage eval. Okay, so now this value has been transformed to 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. So this is a percentage eval function, which is abbreviated as evaluate. Okay, percentage let a equals, suppose say 3.4 percentage. What is the value?
3.4 plus 5.6.
Okay, so to evaluate this, we do have a function sys eval f. Okay, so 3.4 plus 5.6 is actually is 9. You may be keen to ask like why percent eval is not working. Okay, there was an error with percentage eval function. Is there anyone who can try to identify why this error is coming? Who do know 7 is now numerical or still character? It get transformed to character, Mohit, actually, but just the value for us because we have not transformed to save it into a particular variable. Okay, whenever these values are not a reference to particular procs or data step, or then these values stay remain as text. Okay, when we change these values to particular procs where we used to identify or filtering out data, then this will get changed. I will come to this point. So as of now, tell me like why percent eval is not working, sys eval f is working while percent eval is working over here.
Because in the second
Maybe
case there are floating.
Okay, so let's talk about one by one. So Priyanka, let's you start please.
I mean in
Mhm.
second case there is floating point number
Mhm.
3.4,
Okay,
and in the first case there is 3 plus 4 only.
okay.
This is the reason.
So if I defined over here sys eval f to this, is it working? Will it work or not?
it should work.
It should work. Okay. F is actually abbreviated as floating. Okay. Whenever you are dealing with particular floating type of numbers, then you have to define a function syseval. And if you are not sure about that values are actually particular pure numeric or not contains any decimal value, then you can go ahead and use the function syseval. Okay, even if the value is a floating point number, then it get transformed to the particular numerical value of as in floating. Okay, and if it is not, then also it gives the same value, but you don't have to worry about whether it is a floating point number or not. Okay, so we have seen different type of macro variables. Okay, okay, so this is your processing flow in basis. I hope you guys do know about the processing flow diagram of basis. If there is anyone who would like to have an explanation for this diagram, let me know. Otherwise, we will move ahead. Okay, so Mohit need explanation. Other than Mohit, also need explanation. Okay, Akshay is also need explanation. Okay.
Please explain.
Okay. Okay, so this is your data step, and whenever I just a second. Okay, so is there anyone who would like to explain? You may can. Okay, there's no foundation that I have to explain only. If anyone has any interest to explain, you may try. Otherwise, I will. Okay, so this is the data step that I'm going to submit. Okay, so it give me a sample data set of has the same contents as help class. Okay, let's come to the flow diagram. What exactly is happened? So this is my program editor. Okay, this is the window that I am actually working on. This is the same window that I am working. Okay, this is the same window. Okay, so when I submit a F3 command like this, what exactly happen is this whole code get transferred to a memory. This is called as input stack. Okay, input stack is the memory which brings that code from your SAS editor to your memory, your PC SAS memory, or you can say your RAM, random access memory. Okay, what happened after that? Um there is also a 2 3 more stages, but I will not explain till as of now, otherwise you will get confused. After that, the SAS stacked code get transferred to the compilation phase. Okay, there is a compiler who actually compiled this whole code. In the compilation phase, what it exactly check is it check the syntax. Okay, that is there any the statements that you have written is it is as per your SAS rules or not. Okay, after that, whatever you have mentioned into the set statement or the operation that you are going to perform, it at the end of compilation phase, it also create a descriptor portion of the dataset, and also side by side it also create a PDV. This is program data vector. At the end of the compilation phase, the PDV is actually is totally blank. Okay, all the values are missing. It does only assign the variable names into the PDB, not the values. Okay, when this stage pass, this whole lot of code gets to the execution phase, and it gets start fetching the rows from class one by one. Okay, then after that these underscore error underscore value has start to be populated, and after that one row by one it sending these rows to the final data set. This is called as A. This is your data set A. Finally one row by one it start fetching from SAS help class and start sending to the final data set. This is your base SAS process actually. Is there anyone who has any doubt till now? Okay, anyone else then Mohit? Okay.
Arun, new variables which we create,
Mhm.
get they create in compilation phase or execution phase? Like,
Like into the compilation phase, that into the PDB it get assigned, but the values are totally blank.
Okay, so they get assigned in the execution phase, right?
Yeah, right. Even if the variables that we are going to assign otherwise not, that are going to be assigned only into the execution phase.
Okay.
Okay. Into the, just a second, let me try PDB for you. Okay. If you have PDB like this into the compilation phase, it exactly built like this. Okay. This is your n that is going to define. This is your underscore error underscore. Okay, these are the list of the variables that SAS helpdos class has. If you are creating a new variables, that also being created over here like this, but the values are totally blank. Nothing will get stored to the PDB. These are totally blanks. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's move to next slide. I hope maybe you guys able to understand. Okay, so take a look at this first of all, and we will see what is exactly happening in every block in detail. Maybe this class may get little bit longer, so if anyone needs break 5 minutes in between, just let me know. Just take a look at this picture and try to understand like what this exactly mean, and I will start explaining these diagrams or flowchart. And then later on after this one, we will do a sample program on this one, and after that we will be able to understand whole lot of process what exactly happen in backend. This is your base as process. This is your base as procedure. If it is include any procedure like proc print or something else, then it also get included, otherwise not. So shall we start?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I already have explained this program editor block. Okay, I already have explained the input stack. Now let's come to this word scanner. What exactly is this word scanner? I will let you guys to understand from your own knowledge. Okay, so I have write two steps. Okay, this is one of them is data step and one of them is proc step. Okay, so how you guys able to identify like this is the proc step and this is the data step? Guys, this is totally a simple question. I'm asking you, how would you able to identify that this is the data step procedure, data step code, or this is a proc step code?
If we are using
If,
the keyword data, then it is a data step, and if we are using a pro keyword,
Okay.
it will be a
So
pro.
SAS also does the same. Okay. When we submit this code, okay, when when it goes to the compiler particularly, then there are actually multiple stages of, as you can see over here, there are multiple compilers, okay, for every type of process. If you are particularly dealing with the data step compiler, there is a data step compiler. If you are running any proc prints, any proc format, or any other procs that you are going to define, it goes to the procedure compiler. Okay. If you are running proc SQL, then it goes to the SQL compiler. Okay. If you are defining any global statements like this title statement or foot state, and I think this is a footnote actually. Yes, footnote statement, any lib name statement. These are the global statement compiler. It goes to the global statement compiler, and after that this whole lot of compiler sending this information to the execution phase. Okay. Okay, now let's come to the code. Okay, so when I submit this code through F3 command, what exactly happen is this whole lot of code get transferred to the input stack. This is the input stack. Okay, it goes to the your SAS memory, and after that there is a word scanner. This is really important process flow. If you guys able to understand this process flow, macro is really easy, as like pdb. If you understand the pdb, whole lot of base as is easy for you. If you are able to understand this flow diagram, then also macro will be easy for you to understand like what happening is in the backend. Okay, now let's talk about the word scanner. Okay, the whole lot of code into the input stack. This was the code that we actually submitted. What word scanner do is it start, you know, take taking some parts of the code one by one. Okay, data get taken apart from the whole code. After that sample, and after that is semicolon, then again is set keyword, then again is a library, then is a dot, then is again a another your data set name, then it again is semicolon, then the run keyword, and then this final semicolon. Okay, now let's talk about in detail. Okay, this every word, into the word processor, word scanner actually, it is called as token. My writing is not fair over here, just try to understand. The SAS name for these terms is called as token. What token is? These are the small parts of the complete code. Is there anyone who has any doubt till now? Otherwise, I will explain further. What exactly
No.
word scanner do is it start taking samples from the whole code, and it breaks the whole code into smaller sections. These smaller sections are called as token. Okay. Okay, let's talk about further. Okay, so whenever this word scanner first scans that this is the data, and data is the keyword that reserved by SAS. Okay, so when this first token comes to the word scanner over here, okay, when a data like this comes to that, start trigger this data step compiler, because SAS does know, like if I mention data, then there is a data step to begin with. Okay, and for the particular data step to compile, we have a different compiler. This is SAS step compiler. Okay, it triggers this one, it send a message to data step compiler, just try to initiate yourself, there is a code that is on the way to come to you. Okay, as like your own knowledge that you let me know that if there is a data, then this is a data step, if this there is a proc, then there is a proc step. Okay, so now finally we get to know SAS tell the data step compiler that there is a data step codes that are coming in the way to process, so we get ready. Okay, after that, when okay, so our compiler has been initiated, this data get transferred to the compiler, after that the sample, and after that there is a semicolon get transferred. These code start and end, stop ending, this word scanner actually stops sending the tokens at the end of the data step, and the end of the data step it is to be defined by the run statement or any other proc. In the first class, as Sashi actually explained you that this is a data step boundary. Data step boundary is something which is ended by a run statement. Otherwise, if you are not mention any run statement, if you mention another beginning of step, this then SAS does able to know that this is your step boundary. Okay, so this is actually get transferred from the word scanner to the compiler, and one by one these statement get processed. Okay, it get initiated with data step compiler, it assigns the data name as sample, then after that the set going to compiler, then it check for the SAS app class compilation phase that it is correctly mentioned. Okay, then after that class, and then the run statement. This is your basis process. Okay, this is your basis process. Okay, is there anyone who has any doubt till now?
No.
Okay, similarly, similar things happen when you submit a proc step. This whole proc step into the word scanner get transformed to this as like this. Like this. Okay, these small pieces are called as tokens. Okay, and after that this particular procedure compiler get initiated by scanning the first token, and it gets start the execution for particular. Okay, this is your whole lot of procedure step, procedure compilation phase. If you are including any title or footnote statement that are global in nature, other that exactly last till the session exists, then it gets transformed to the global statement compiler. Okay, and further after that it goes to the execution phase. Same with happens with the compiler, SQL compiler, proc SQL. Okay, after the first proc token, it also scan for the next token. If it is a SQL, then it will sell to the SQL compiler. Otherwise, it will start continuing with the same procedure compiler. Okay. Okay, let me ask you a interview question for you. Maybe that can be asked to you. Okay, so even if the value is stored as text and I'm referencing that macro variable like this %a, okay, so it will not show me any error. Okay, oh, just a second, all of them are greater than 12. Okay, now it's fine. Okay, so this 14 is actually stored as in text, and if I compare this age value with %a, but %a is exactly as a text, then how this comparison is actually holding true? Why is it so?
Age is a numeric column, so compiler might be considering A as a numeric value.
Okay, so if I specify like this, then it also won't show me any error, right? Okay, so where clause operator requires compatible variables, so age is numeric, but this has been treating as a character. It's not getting resolved. Now tell me what is happening. Anyone else regarding that other than Sangeeta would like to try? What exactly is happening? Okay, I will leave this question to all of you to take a research. Otherwise, I will explain to this, but after 2 3 4 days. Now let's get have an idea about simple table. I'm going to step by step, okay, so that there will not be any confusion for you. Okay, there are two types of table that into SAS exist. There is an LST that is abbreviated as local symbol table, and this is GST. This is not as good service tax. This is global symbol table. Okay, as you guys able to maybe have an interpretation about these by mentioning these local and global are something that also exist. If you end the session and restart your session, it will always available to you. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I uh, told you guys wrong. Global symbol table is actually uh, where the variable values are always available to you within your SAS session, anywhere in the program. Okay, local symbol table is the local table which is only available to you a particular macro or particular section of the code. Okay, let's talk about in this in little bit. I just have an idea about this. Okay, maybe you guys do have seen this. Okay, these are the automatic uh, SAS macro variables that you have into SAS macros. These are a part of global symbol table. The the macro variable that whatever we define or we have already available, that also store as into a symbol table. Just like our macro store into a particular catalog says MACR, the macro variables also store into a symbol table. Okay, and there is a scope for that symbol table. If it is available to you anywhere in the program, then it is called as a part of a global symbol table. If it is limited to only a particular section of the code, then it is called as a local symbol table. Okay, let's take an example of this. Maybe you guys able to understand, and after that we will be done with this one. This is LST and GST. Okay, okay. So I define a macro variable A whose value is Arun, and I'm creating another macro test. Okay, and in the body of this macro, I write three statements: data, set, and run, and I actually call ampersand A. Okay, So this ampersand a get resolved to Arun, and there is a final data set that is being created into the work library by name Arun. Okay, if I run this, okay, so maybe you guys did notice is actually it get printed. Okay, this is actually happened was I previously defined a macro a, and I'm calling that macro a. Okay, so let me call a macro test, so it will give me a Arun dataset which is same like SAS help class. Okay, okay, now let's define percentage let b equals SAS help class. Let me delete it. Okay, so again I will get completed. Okay, okay, let me run another macro or data step. Let me define another data ampersand b set no. Okay, so I have two macro variables a and another one is b. Okay, so if I run this one, let me delete it for you. Okay, so Arun get created. Let me check if it is get resolved or not. Okay, and let me change it into another way. Yes, yes, I'm trying to do the same. Okay, so dot. Okay. This was not actually supposed to happen. Okay. Why is it happening? Okay, I will resort to this one. Yes, please.
Name.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Were you saying something?
I was saying that you can change the local variable name and check if it will work.
Which
I mean,
one? B equals Z.
I mean, replace B by C. You can check it if it will work.
Okay, maybe there is some problem with my code. I will resort to that later on. But as of now, maybe it's not clearly understood. Let me remove this one. Okay. So local symbol table is actually the local macro variable that uh, really exists to that particular symbol table. Local symbol table, that means a particular macro limited to particular macro table, macro variable. Oh, sorry, macro. Okay, means to say okay, now it's work. Now it will work. Okay, so I define a macro variable z, and whose values is actually arun, and I create a data from that macro variable arun, and that actually get resolved to arun, and finally we do have a data set name arun. Okay, let me go ahead and delete this one for you. Okay. Okay. So outside the macro boundary, this ampersand z is not resolving. As you can see over here, this ampersand z is not resolving. It's shown an error. Like apparent symbolic reference z is not resolved. What it means to say. So this is your macro boundary. Starting from percentage macro to percentage meant, this is your macro boundary. Okay. Whatever the macro variable that I define in these steps, that will becomes to a part of a local symbol table, LST. Okay. If I call these macro variables outside the macro boundary, it not resolved. As you can see over here, the log window, it show an error that apparent symbolic reference z is not resolved. Okay. Similarly, if I define any macro variable like over here, percentage let, suppose say f equals r1, and if I reference to this ampersand f, let me store into a table first of all by running it, and if I go ahead and run this one, it will execute it. That this is r1. Okay. So this is really an important topic. When I define a macro variable outside macro boundary, then it will become a part of global symbol table. This is become a part of local symbol table, LST. Okay. So if I reference a macro variable that is global in nature, that global in nature means that even if I want to resolve that macro variable outside the macro boundary, this is your macro boundary. This is your macro boundary. Then it get resolved. It get resolved to Arun1. Okay. If I reference this macro variable over here, then you get to see then there was an error because it was not available after the macro boundary. So there is a scope of macro variables, global and local. If you define outside the macro boundary, then it is global in nature. If you define within the macro boundary, then it is a local symbol table, part of a local symbol table. Okay. Local symbol table means that it is only limited to a particular macro boundary. Okay, within this boundary you can reference this macro variable z as many as times that you want. Okay, if outside, if you write a code like this, data z ampersand z, and simply x equal 1 and run it, it will show an error because these are not available to you. So I hope now you guys able to identify, means get the difference between LST and GST. What exactly is GST and what is actually LST? To check what exactly is presented in my global symbol table, then use percentage put and the global statement underscore global underscore and run it. In the global symbol table, we have four macro variables A, B, F, and Shashi, and whose values are Arun, test 2, Arun 1, and 50. Okay. Similarly, I think there is a percentage put local. It seems so. No, nothing is in local. I think this is user. Okay, I will come to these points. Okay, so as of now, it is really understood to you. Okay, like what is global symbol table and what is global symbol table.
Yes.
Is there anyone else who has any doubt till now?
And automatic variables are also global variables.
Yes.
Some
Priyanka, your voice is breaking up. It is better if you can type so that we can understand. Okay. And if you want to,
okay.
if you want to see the automatic macro variables that are available to you, you go ahead and put it. Okay. After substituting these ones, there is a list of macro variables that automatic variable macro variables that you have available. Says CMD says we also have worked with SAS date, right? This is 12/5/14. We also have deal with SAS date 9. We also have worked with most of that automatic variables. Okay. SAS job ID is 1039 and syslast. Okay, syslast is also one of the intro question that can be asked. Okay. Okay, suppose say if I ask you like if I delete all of my contents into the work library, and if I want you to tell me like what was the latest data set that I did create it. There is an automatic variable. This is called as syslast. Okay, that actually give me a two level name. Okay, the latest data set that I was the created by me, that was Arun 1, and it is present into the work library. Okay, now let's consider so you guys want to have some break, uh, and I just want to you know clarify this sample program through these different stages, and then we will be done with this class.
No, we don't need.
Okay, maybe you don't, maybe other one. Is there anyone who like to have some break? Just 2-3 minutes. Anyone who likes to drink water, they can. No one need break. Okay.
Arun, if you need, then we can take.
Uh, I certainly don't need, but I'm just asking you because it's about to 2 hours, so that's why. The explanation needs around 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, and I was also thinking to cover two functions to you, if you guys allow me. Otherwise, it will be easy for into the next class. If it is thinking that it is going to be very lengthy, then we can stop. We can discuss into the next class. If you guys seems that everything is clear in the mind, we can go ahead and check for the rest of the stuff.
We can discuss function in next class.
Okay, function we can discuss in the next class. Let's talk about this program. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this program go to my program editor, and when I submit this, it go to the input stack. It go to the word scanner. Okay, I forget to discuss one thing, that tokens are actually are a type of four types. Okay, these are literals. Okay, let me type. The token that actually being created by the word scanner, it is of four types. One is literal, another one is numerical token. Okay, another one is a name token, another one is a special token. Okay, literal comes to whenever it encounters with double quotation marks especially, or you can say single quotation mark. Numericals like any numerical constant, datetime function, datetime constant, the real numbers with the letter E. Okay, any decimal number like 11.2, something like this. Numerical format that also uh, comes to the numerical token. Name type of token that actually like this, like in file underscore and underscore. Okay, any variable name like var1 or var2, that are a part of name token. Special token are consist of the special symbols like star, division, plus, minus. Okay, ampersand, percentage, raised to the power, double power. Okay, like this. Okay, so we submitted this. Okay, so we define this macro variable outside of the macro. This is become your f, and whose values is around 1. Okay, this is a part of GST. Okay, now let's transform this code as a word scanner. Okay, what word scanner actually do with this code? Just try to understand it, otherwise it will be a bit hard for you to understand the macros. If you understand this, it will be very easy. Sorry. Okay, so whole lot of this code get transformed into this type of code into the word scanner. Okay, so word scanner actually encounter with a percentage sign. Okay, so till now you have seen a percentage and ampersand. These are codes are macro triggers. Okay, macro triggers means like whenever you are defining a macro variable and you are referencing that macro variable with an ampersand sign, uh, then SAS does know that yes, you are, if you are going to define a macro variable, you already have defined and you are just referencing it. Okay, so ampersand actually tells us that this is a part of macro facility. Similarly as with percentage, if you define any percentage like that this macro variable going to be a part of macro facility, same like with percentage macro, that you are going to define a macro. Okay, so word scanner. So into the first word scanner, percentage let going to transfer. Okay, that actually triggers that macro processor. Okay, so macro processor already has been triggered. Then word scanner actually request a another token, which is your uh, F. Okay, so after that it is going to check like previously it was defined any macro body or not. If it is not, then it will go ahead and put this value around 1 to this global symbol table. Over here f value becomes around 1. Okay, now let's come to the percentage macro. Now it again encounters with a percentage sign, then says get to know that there is a beginning of a macro. Okay, it went to the percentage to the macro processor, then it encounters that this is a macro body that is about to come. Okay, it assigned that particular macro variable as an sample one, and it again, when this step get completed, it also encounter with another percentage let z equals Arun. Okay, so it again encounter with percentage let. It again trigger microprocessor. It requests for another token, and another token name is z over here. Okay, and it is going to be assigned its value into the LST because it is into a macro body. Okay, so z becomes Arun like this. Okay, now let's come to the data ampersand z and this part. Okay, when this when this data keyword particularly encounter, then this data step get triggered. Means to say that just we get ready, there is something to come up to you to process data steps. Okay, so it encounters with another ampersand z. Okay, it will check first of all into the local symbol table. Okay, it first check into the local symbol table. If it is get resolved, it is okay. If it is not resolved within the local symbol table, it will go ahead and check into the global symbol table. It will check if it is value of ampersand z is available, then it is okay. If it is not resolved, then it will go ahead and print out any that error apparent simple it not resolved that we had seen into the log of our SAS. Okay, similarly this case happens as I discussed as this is a part of a data step compiler. Then it again encounter with percentage meant sample one. similarly samples like that, they it process one by one. Ultimately the point is that you need to understand this step how it is working. Okay, one more thing is that I would like to say, I would like to tell you, whenever you are referencing any macro variable, like over here you are referencing a macro variable percentage %z, this word scanner stop sending tokens to all of the processes until it get resolved over here. It would not send any token to any compiler. Just remember this one. Until it get resolved to Arun 1, Arun, it would not send any of the tokens to any of the compiler. Means whenever these tables get resolved to a particular table and it becomes a part of percent input stack, then it finally get resolved that code, and that after that these resolved code will again be sent to that particular compilers. It get transformed to like this data, and z value is Arun semicolon. It was sent to be like this into the data step compiler. On to the duration of referencing of a particular macro variable, the word scanner does not send any single token to any compiler. Just remember this one. Okay, and okay. So how do you able to see your input stack? What is the actual code there is being sent to the compilers? There is an option mprint. If you go ahead and run it into the log window, okay, so this was the actual code that was has been resolved by using percentage z, as you can see over here, and percent. That's this macro body has been transformed to this code. This is your input stack input. Now it again get transferred to the word scanner as in tokens like this, and it triggers again particular compilers, and finally you have your execution phase to complete with. Is there anyone who has any doubt till now? I think it is very clear to you.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, okay. So this is also a SAS macros. We also have seen macro variables that some of them are automatic, that already get created when SAS invoke, and there are user defined macro variable that we have seen a method percentage let. If we are defining outside of macro body, then it is become a global symbol table. If we are defining within a macro body, then it is be a part of local symbol table. Okay, so this is okay. So this is all for today, and if anyone wants to leave this class, they can, and if there is anyone who has any doubt till now, you guys can discuss if you have not any doubt. And there was a question into the WhatsApp group that we are discussing about the in flags into that appending of multiple data sets. I exactly don't know who was asking to me. Maybe I don't know that particular person is presented. in this class or not. So let me define and discuss this thing. Okay, so if I'm mentioning more than one dataset into a single statement, then it is going to be appended. Okay, and someone is asking me what are these flags. These are the actually control flags to have an observation controls from that particular data sets. So let's see how it is working. Okay, so this is your output. So this is your X flag and this is your Y flag. Okay, what exactly happen is when SAS create a PDV, it encounter with the first data set. Okay, these observations are actually part of this one data set, SAS help class, first one. And X equals means that this observation is exactly a part of this particular data set. This is Y exactly is 1, and Y equals 0, it means to say that this row contribution of this data set is 0, like this observation does not belong to Y data set, or means to say this data set. This observation is actually a part of this data set. Okay, till 19th observation was the uh, last row of the single data set, first data set, sorry. After 19th, these value get interchanged. Okay, so now it's turned to the Y. Okay, this first observation, which is exactly the same of the X equal 1, but it's become a row of second data set. This is this one data set. Okay, if you go ahead and put the conditions like over here, if X and Y, someone was asking why it is having the 0 rows, then you can able to tell why it is having the 0 rows, because no condition over here that X equals 1 and also Y equals 1. Okay, if you want only from the rows from a single table, then if you can type if X equal 1. If you want to have rows only from the second data set, you can go ahead and put if Y equal 1. Okay, so these are the flag variables. These are the flag variables that actually tells you like is this observation belongs to this data set or not. If X flag is particularly for this data set, that the observation that I'm getting into the PDV, it is belonging from this data set or not. This is the variable that actually tell me. As you can see over here, this is the output. Okay, so this was all for today, and if is there is anyone who has any doubt till now, you can discuss, and otherwise if you want to share it on group, you may can. And I hope that today's class maybe all of the things that clear to you. We have started actually with macros, different stages. I also have discussed the process flow into the BSS. Also, I also have discussed it will be yes, Sangeeta, if you can see over here, there is a no condition over here where X and Y always equal to 1. either then of one is always one and another one it would be a zero. Because SAS, until SAS does not finish with the first dataset, it will not start with the second dataset. Okay, it will continue this till 19th observation, and after this 19th observation it will going to be start with another dataset. This is the 20th row, and it will continue till 38th, because cell broad class is having 19 observations. Okay. Abhay is asking me what will happen when we use set operator for both tables. Okay, something like that, like two different set statements. That is what you are asking. If any one of you want to leave, because we are discussing apart from the macros, and I'm just taking the doubts from the previous sessions. Okay, you want to see like this, right? So what exactly happened? It is going to be merged. Okay, and let's see what will happen. Now tell me why it is only x equal 1. Because both of them are identical, so there is no means to merge, because all the variables are same, all the observations are same, and if you overlap this data set with this data set, then ultimately the observation of first data set to become up. So that's why it is over here is 1. This is a really advanced topic. If you really want to see the values of a and b, you have to use your merge statements, like merge keyword, merge and your data set's name, and after that the inflex, and after that you are able to control your observation to have a particular type of join that you want. Okay, bhai, is there any doubt till now? Okay. Okay guys, so thanks for joining today, and in the next class we will be discussing some functions regarding that macros, and after this class, second class, we will take some scenario questions, that what exactly we do in our organizations. We build some macros and automate the things, and let's see how these things comes up, and we really will make some big macros to automate the things. Okay, and so thanks for joining today, and I will send these notes to all of you, and also that pp to you. And if there is a lots of space that you have in your ppt, so whenever you want to add some information, you can mention it by clicking the text feature. Okay. Okay guys, so thank you so much, and see you next week. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you, Arun.
Okay, bye bye.